The dependency graph in FreeCAD is essentially a visual map of how your model is built. Every feature you create, whether it's a sketch, pad, pockets, booleans, etc., often depend on something that came before it. The graph shows all these relationships in one place. The dependency graph is purely a visualization tool that updates automatically when changes are made to the model. The dependency graph will help you to visualize, troubleshoot, and also if you take on a project from someone else, it's a quick way of figuring out how things are connected together. In this tutorial, we'll install the dependency graph and learn how to use it. So to start using the dependency graph in FreeCAD, we first need to install the Graphviz library. There is installation instructions on the FreeCAD wiki for both Windows, Macs, and Linux. If we go to the Graphviz download page, we see the stable version for Windows is 14.1.5. Just run through the setup, and I took the defaults and also took a note of the destination folder. Once installed, open up FreeCAD and check to see if the dependency graph loads from Tools and then Dependency Graph. If we get this message, then we need to add the path to FreeCAD. Select OK, come up to Tools, down to Edit Parameters, and on the left hand side in Group, we need to navigate to Base App, expand Preferences, and in Paths, we need to add the Graphviz parameter. If it's not there, then we can right click and select New String Item. In here, type Graphviz. It's worth keeping the case the same, so starting with a capital G, all the rest lowercase, and hit OK. Next, we need to enter the text. This is going to be the location of the bin directory where it's installed. In my case, it's C program files, Graphviz, and inside there is the bin. And we hit OK. At any time, we can come in, double click, and edit these. Let's hit Save and Close. Come up to Tools now and select Dependency Graph. If we got the path wrong, then we might see this message appear. Let's hit Yes to specify the path. And now I can locate the bin file in the program files Graphviz. Before, this wasn't here. I moved it on purpose just to show this. Let's select the folder. Now we have the dependency graph, but you won't see much because we haven't got a project. Let's start creating a project and see what happens with the dependency graph. Let's start in the part design, and we'll close the dependency graph windows and the start window. We'll create a new body and a simple sketch along the XY plane. Let's place something simple in here, something like this, and click Close. So we have the profile of the sketch inside the body. Let's run the dependency graph, come up to Tools and Dependency Graph. We get an outline of our project. If we look at the tree view, we can see the body, and this is reflected in the dependency graph. So the first created object, it appears at the bottom of the dependencies. We can see we've got the origin inside the body, and the sketch depends on the origin, as we selected one of the planes, the XY plane. Let's extend the pad and see what happens. I'm not going to close the dependency graph because this will update as we make changes. We'll take the sketch and add a pad and hit OK. If we look back to the graph, we now see the pad depends on the sketch. Don't worry about the color change because this is just a random color that's assigned, and this will be assigned to the containers. The pad is the most recent created object, and dependencies are displayed in reverse order. Note the 2 times. This indicates the number of links to external references. If we look back at the pad, the direction edge is sketch normal, which is selected as default. This affects the count. Let's go back to the dependency graph. Let's hit OK. And also select the pad on the left hand side so we can see the properties. So this reference is taken from the reference axis. So we can see it's a sketch and axis. This is not one reference. We have the first reference, and then in square brackets is the second reference. So there's actually 2 references here, hence the 2 times. So we have the orientation and the support. We'll see a similar situation later when we start referencing external geometry from within a sketch. Let's go back to our project and select the top face, creating a simple sketch connected to that face with two circles on the existing feature, and hit close and come back to the dependency graph. We now have a sketch that's been placed upon the pad. Notice that we don't have a number here, a multiplier. This is because there's no dependencies on the external geometry from the underlying pad. Let's change that. Go into the sketch and we'll toggle to construction mode, and we'll pull in a reference using the external geometry tool. Let's say this edge here. If I hit close, the dependency graph updates, and now we see we have 2 times here. If we look at the sketch in the tree view and look down, we have the external geometry here. Again, we have pad and edge 10. So we have 2 times external references, one to the pad and one to the edge. If I come back into the sketch and we'll pull in this line here, this edge, with the external geometry tool, we will now have 3. Look to the left, we see we have pad 1, edge 10, 2, and edge 4, 3. So 3 references, and that's reflected in the graph. Let's go back to the sketch, and let's change this. So let's place these together. Swap back out of construction mode, and we'll just pull these out. Hit close. Dependency graph hasn't changed. We've still got 3 times in this sketch. Take the sketch and create a pad. And hit OK. We will get a slowdown when using the dependency graph because we're updating 2 things at once. Let's go back to the dependency graph and see what's happened. So now you see the latest feature at the top in the body, pad 001, but it has the dependency on the sketch and the pad. You may think, well, shouldn't it only be dependent on sketch 001? This happens because when you pad that sketch, the pad is applied to the volume of the previous pad, and this creates a dependency. If we come back to the model and expand the pad and take that last sketch, and if we remove the attachment support, this one here, and clear it, so the sketch is no longer attached to anything, and OK, this sketch has now fallen back to placement because we're not attached to anything. But we do have external dependencies on pad edge 10 and edge 4. So we look at the dependency graph, we still have something very similar. If I come into the sketch and delete these 2 edges and hit close and look back at the dependency graph, we can see a change. So this should alert us to something that's missing. The sketch is now just floating basically in midair. The placement is controlling the sketch rather than attachment. So this in the part design would raise a red flag. The minute we go into the sketch and start reattaching this, so let's hide the pad, show the previous pad, attachment support, and we'll select that face and hit OK. Look at the last action. It all looks fine. Let's come back to the dependency graph and we hit refresh. We can see we've gone back to our original state. Let's now add another body and see what happens. Make sure nothing's selected and create a new body. So now we have a multi-body project. In the dependency graph, if we look down, we see we have another body, and it started basically a new column for its dependencies. Let's create a SubShapeBinder from the body. So we're referencing across bodies. Come back to our project, and I'm going to select the base and create a SubShapeBinder. So the new body is active and the binder will be placed within that body. Let's go back to the dependency graph and see what's happened. Notice that we have a line going up here, and if we zoom in, we can see the arrow is pointing back to the body. And within the new body, we have the binder. So this shows the reference back to the original body. Here you can see I've built out the project with additional sketches and pads. And you can see that this sketch here has a reference back to the binder as well. So sketch 002 depends on the binder, and also sketch 003 depends on the binder as well. So these are both referencing that binder in some way, and you can see that by the multiplier. That means if I look back at those sketches, say pad 003, I'll click on the sketch, we'll do a section view. We can see we've used the binder and pulled in external geometry so we can connect our circles to them. It's not fully defined, it's just an example. And we get our dependency graph. When we examine models by looking at the tree view, we cannot initially see the methodologies that have been used. In this case, we can see that we've attached the previous features via selecting references from them. This makes it a lot more clear of what's happening. This project will look somewhat different if we was connecting to a more stable feature like one of the base planes. Let's take a look at two examples of this. Here we have two bodies. They look exactly the same and they're identical except for the color. But they use two different modeling techniques to create them. One uses a feature chaining, whilst the other is connected to the base planes and each sketch is offset from that base plane. When we look at the dependency graph, it becomes very clear that they're built in two different ways. So on the left we have the plane offset. We can see each of the sketches are connected to the origin, whereas on the right we have one sketch connected to the origin, followed by a pad. The sketch is connected to the pad, which creates the next pad. You can see that these have been chained together. So we have a feature chaining workflow here. So though they look identical, except for the color, they have very different workflows. The dependency graph can be used for troubleshooting. For example, we could find references that no longer exist, or references that depend on something that's invalid. These should be easy to identify in the dependency graph. Let's take the following project for example. I can see the boolean operation needs refreshing. When we refresh, we get a dependency cycle error. Let's just hit no. Let's come up to tools and come down to dependency graph. We see the layout of the project and we can see multiple containers. Each body makes a container and the boolean itself is a container. If we look to the left, we can see the body, the boolean, and inside the boolean, we have body 001, this one here. So we can see what's reaching outside of these bodies. And if we look down, we have a binder that's reaching outside to the body itself, not the polar pattern. This isn't pointing to the polar pattern. If it was, this will be connected. And we can see that if we look for the binder on the left hand side here, which is in body 001, into this body, we see a binder within. And we look down, the support is body and it's connected to the sphere face 2. Binder is reaching outside to the body. Here we see the top feature, the sphere of this body, is involved with the boolean operation. So if this body changes, the binder will update and update the feature within body 001. So we're triggering an update inside the body, but we're also triggering an update in this body as well. So if anything changes in this body will be set to updated, and it also sets this body as well via the binder to be updated. So we have a loop here. Body 001 has a dependency to the body via the SubShapeBinder, and at the same time the boolean operation has a dependency on the body as well. So we get this fighting in here at causing this dependency loop. So this area here is cause for concern. To fix this, we'll take the binder and have a look to see what it's doing. So we have the body, the binder, and the sphere. And the same here, we have the body, the binder, and the sphere that depends on the binder. We click on the sphere, And the attachment support is the binder face 1. It's just using it for attachment. So we can remove that, clear that out, and hit OK. Let's hit refresh. Still got dependency cycles. The binder has been removed from the sphere, but we still have an issue because the binder is reaching outside. This binder now is no longer needed. It's not adding any value. So we take the binder and hit delete. The sphere itself is not attached, so it would be a best idea to attach that to one of the base planes. If we look, we don't need to refresh, and the cyclic error has gone. We can still see that the boolean is connected to the body, taking the top feature. Returning back to the dependency graph, we can see we also have a problem with the structure. So if we look up, we have a fragile feature here, which the pad depends upon. And also, as we move up, polar pattern here, another fragile feature, which the sphere depends upon. So by right, if we look down and alter this polar pattern, we may go into error. As you can see here, the sphere is in error. So straight away, looking at this flow, we can see we need some rework to make this more stable. So that's how to use the dependency graph in FreeCAD, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Coffee at ko-fi.com/MANG0 or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. I thank everybody that's donated so far. It really helps to keep the lights on so I can produce more content and also expand the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting and subscribing to these videos, and I hope to see you again in the next one.